There's a $1 powder sitting in the baking aisle of every grocery store on Earth that removes up to 96% of the pesticide residues on every fruit and vegetable you bring home from the market. Not a specialty health product. Not an expensive organic produce wash sold at premium prices in health food stores. Baking soda. The same white powder your grandmother used to make bread rise and clean the kitchen sink. The one in the orange and yellow box on the shelf between the flour and the sugar that costs under $2 for a box large enough to last your household 3 months of daily produce washing. Every apple, every grape, every strawberry, every head of lettuce, every bell pepper, and every tomato you buy at a supermarket carries invisible chemical residues on its surface that plain water does not remove. Those residues are there by design. They are the remnants of the pesticides, fungicides, and wax coatings that commercial agriculture applies to crops at every stage of production from field to shelf. The agricultural chemical industry generates over $250 billion annually selling these compounds to farmers worldwide. And the produce section of your supermarket is the endpoint of a chemical chain that begins months before the fruit reaches your hand. Plain water removes approximately 40% of surface pesticide residues. Baking soda dissolved in water removes up to 96%. That difference is not a marketing claim from a health food company. It is a finding from a peer-reviewed study published by researchers at the University of Massachusetts in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry in 2017, one of the most respected scientific publications in food safety research. The study was funded by public research grants, not by any cleaning product manufacturer. Nobody profits from baking soda being the answer, which is precisely why you have probably never heard this before. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge survives. Here we open the vaults, the industry locks shut. Let me take you through what is actually on the surface of the fruit and vegetables you eat every day, because the full picture is more complex than most people realize, and understanding it changes how urgently you treat the washing step. Commercial agriculture uses 3 distinct categories of chemical application on food crops, each with different properties that determine how they bond to produce surfaces and how effectively different washing methods remove them. The first category is insecticides, chemicals applied to kill insects that damage crops during growth. The most widely used class of insecticides on fresh produce are organophosphates and pyrethroids, synthetic compounds that disrupt the nervous systems of insects. At the residue levels, typically found on supermarket produce, these compounds are below the acute toxicity threshold set by food safety regulators. But research published over the past 2 decades has raised serious questions about the effects of chronic low-level exposure, meaning the cumulative effect of consuming small amounts of these residues across many years of daily eating. A 2019 analysis published in JAMA Internal Medicine found that higher consumption of high pesticide residue produce was associated with reduced fertility outcomes in women undergoing fertility treatment. A 2018 study in Environmental Health Perspectives found associations between prenatal exposure to organophosphate pesticides and reduced cognitive development scores in children at age 7. These are not fringe findings. They appear in mainstream peer-reviewed medical journals and have been replicated across multiple independent research groups. The second category is fungicides, chemicals applied to prevent mold and rot on produce both before and after harvest. Post-harvest fungicide application is standard practice for fruits, including apples, citrus, grapes, and stone fruits that travel long distances between farm and supermarket. These post-harvest treatments are applied directly to the fruit surface after picking, meaning they are not subjected to the field weathering that reduces pre-harvest residues over time. Post-harvest fungicide residues tend to be more concentrated and more superficial than field-applied pesticides, which makes them more accessible to surface washing, but also means they are present at higher concentrations on the outermost surface layer you eat directly. The third category is wax coatings, applied to apples, cucumbers, peppers, citrus fruits, and many other produce items after harvest to replace the natural wax bloom removed during washing and handling, and to extend shelf life by slowing moisture loss. These waxes are approved food-grade compounds, but they seal pesticide and fungicide residues beneath them against the produce surface, creating a protective layer that plain water cannot penetrate. This is the reason plain water is so ineffective at removing pesticide residues from waxed produce. You are trying to wash through a waterproof barrier. Now, let me show you the science behind why baking soda works where plain water fails, because this is where $250 billion in agricultural chemical revenue becomes directly relevant to what happens on your kitchen counter every morning. Baking soda dissolved in water creates a mildly alkaline solution with a pH of approximately 8.3. Most organophosphate pesticides and many common fungicides are chemically unstable in alkaline conditions. They undergo a process called alkaline hydrolysis, where the alkaline environment breaks apart the chemical bonds that hold the pesticide molecule together, converting it from an intact toxic compound into simpler degradation products that are far less biologically active. This is not a surface rinsing effect. It is a chemical degradation of the pesticide molecule itself. The 2017 University of Massachusetts study tested baking soda solution against plain water and a commercial bleach solution on apples coated with two of the most common agricultural pesticides, thiabendazole, a post-harvest fungicide, and phosmet, an organophosphate insecticide. After a 12-minute soak in baking soda solution made from 1 teaspoon of baking soda per 2 cups of water, thiabendazole residues were reduced by 80% and phosmet residues were reduced by 96%. Plain water achieved only 20% reduction of thiabendazole and 50% reduction of phosmet after the same soaking period. The commercial bleach solution, the method used by many commercial food processors, achieved reductions comparable to plain water but not to baking soda. The researchers concluded that baking soda solution was the most effective surface washing method tested for removing these two pesticide classes, and recommended it as a practical home washing method. 1 teaspoon of baking soda in 2 cups of water, a 12-minute soak, 96% pesticide reduction on the most common organophosphate residues found on commercial produce. The powder costs under $2. The method requires nothing but a bowl and a timer. Before I go further, everything I have revealed barely scratches the surface of what has been hidden from you. The borax mold elimination protocol that permanently protects every surface in your home for $2. The natural weed killer formula that eliminates any weed from hardscape surfaces permanently for under $1. The wood ash garden amendment that delivers professional grade plant nutrition for free. The carpet stain removal protocol that outperforms professional cleaning for under $2. And now the complete produce washing protocol from this very video covering every fruit and vegetable category with exact soaking times, concentration guidelines, and the produce types that carry the highest residue loads and need the most attention. Over 12 guides in one vault, 0 filler, every page built for immediate action. The link is in the description right now. But stay here because the regulatory story behind pesticide residues on your produce is the most important context for everything that follows. The United States Environmental Protection Agency sets maximum residue limits for pesticides on food, called tolerances, which define the legal maximum concentration of each pesticide compound permitted on each food type at the point of sale. These limits are set based on an assessment of risk from a single compound at a time. They do not account for the combined effect of multiple residues present simultaneously on the same piece of produce, which is the actual exposure condition for every person eating supermarket fruit and vegetables. A 2015 analysis by the Environmental Working Group found that a single strawberry sample could contain residues from up to 17 different pesticide compounds simultaneously, each individually within its tolerance limit. The toxicological assessment that determined those tolerance limits evaluated each compound in isolation. The combined effect of 17 simultaneous residues on the same food item has not been evaluated by any regulatory body in any jurisdiction. This is not a fringe concern. It is a recognized limitation of current food safety regulation that has been raised by independent scientists and public health researchers consistently for over 2 decades. The agricultural chemical industry, which funds significant portions of the research that informs regulatory tolerance setting, has consistently opposed the adoption of cumulative risk assessment frameworks that would evaluate the combined effect of multiple residues. Opposing cumulative assessment protects tolerance limits that would likely require downward revision if combined effects were factored into the calculation. Downward revision of tolerance limits means reduced permitted pesticide application rates. Reduced application rates mean reduced sales of agricultural chemicals. The $1 baking soda wash does not wait for regulatory reform. It removes up to 96% of the residues, regardless of how many compounds are present simultaneously. A pediatric nutritionist in California documented switching her family's produce washing protocol from plain water to baking soda solution in 2019 following the publication of research linking organophosphate exposure to developmental outcomes in children. She reported the switch required no additional expense beyond a larger box of baking soda and added approximately 3 minutes to her daily food preparation routine. A food safety researcher at a European university who studies pesticide residue reduction methods confirmed in a 2021 published review that baking soda solution consistently outperforms all other non-commercial produce washing methods across multiple independent studies and recommended its adoption as a standard household practice. The researcher noted that the method's effectiveness, simplicity, and negligible cost made the absence of public health recommendations for its use difficult to explain on scientific grounds. Here is exactly what to do for every category of produce you bring home. The basic solution is 1 teaspoon of baking soda, the white powder from the baking aisle of any grocery store or supermarket, dissolved in 2 cups of cold water in a large bowl. Stir until fully dissolved. The water will look and smell completely normal. Baking soda has no strong smell and leaves no taste on produce when rinsed properly. For fruit with smooth surfaces, including apples, pears, peaches, nectarines, and plums, submerge completely in the baking soda solution and soak for 12 to 15 minutes. These fruits typically carry post-harvest wax coatings that trap fungicide residues against the surface. The 12-minute soak allows the alkaline solution to penetrate through and beneath the wax layer and begin the hydrolysis process on the pesticide residues underneath. After soaking, rinse under cold running water for 30 seconds while rubbing the surface gently with your hands or a soft produce brush. The rinsing step removes both the dissolved residues and the baking soda itself, which you do not want to consume in significant quantities as it can affect digestion. For grapes, strawberries, blueberries, and other small fruits, place in a colander and submerge the entire colander in the baking soda solution. Soak for 10 minutes, then lift the colander and rinse thoroughly under cold running water. For leafy vegetables including lettuce, spinach, kale, and cabbage, separate the leaves and soak in the baking soda solution for 5 to 8 minutes. Leafy vegetables have higher surface area relative to their volume, which means residues are distributed across a larger washing surface, and the baking soda solution contacts them more efficiently. A shorter soak time achieves equivalent residue reduction compared to whole fruits. For vegetables with rough or textured surfaces, including broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts, soak for 10 minutes and use a soft brush during the rinse to reach into the surface crevices where residues accumulate. For root vegetables, including carrots, potatoes, and beets that will be peeled before eating, a brief 30-second scrub under running water with the baking soda solution is sufficient, as peeling removes the outermost residue layer along with the skin. For produce you intend to eat with the skin on, including cucumbers, courgettes, and peppers, treat these as smooth surface fruits and soak for 12 minutes. For citrus fruits, where you use the zest in cooking, soak in baking soda solution for 15 minutes before zesting. Post-harvest fungicide application on citrus is among the highest of any produce category and concentrates in the outer rind, which is the part you use for zest. One important note about produce: you will not be eating immediately. Do not soak produce in baking soda solution and then store it without drying. The moisture accelerates mold and bacterial growth and will shorten the shelf life of your produce significantly. Wash only what you intend to eat within the next day, or prepare immediately after washing and dry thoroughly before refrigerating. Here is what I need you to sit with. Every piece of fruit and every vegetable on the supermarket shelf passed through a chemical process that began in the field months before it reached your hand. The regulatory system that oversees that process evaluates each chemical individually against a tolerance limit and does not account for the combined effect of the multiple residues present simultaneously on the food you eat every day. The agricultural chemical industry that funds a significant portion of the research informing those tolerance limits has consistently opposed the adoption of assessment frameworks that would evaluate combined effects. Plain water removes 40% of surface residues. Baking soda removes up to 96%. The difference between those two numbers is the difference between washing produce and protecting your family with produce washing. 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 2 cups of water, 12 minutes. The powder costs under $2. The research is published and peer-reviewed. The method requires nothing you do not already own. And the industry that profits from you not knowing this has never once needed to actively suppress it. They simply never mentioned it. And in a world where every health claim requires a marketing budget to reach the consumer, silence about a $2 solution is the most effective suppression available. Now you know. And from tonight, every piece of fruit that enters your kitchen gets 12 minutes in a bowl before it reaches anyone's hand. If this vault opens something for you today, subscribe and share this video now. Every share puts this method in the hands of a parent who is washing their children's apples with plain water and believing that is enough. Every subscription keeps this channel digging into the vaults they thought were sealed forever. The next vault opens soon.